This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
To the highway in a brand new day. Over the rainbow, gotta let it go. So fast to finger down. Stars tonight together. Here everyone's singing. 你看到我就怕，头皮发麻，我的手。
Welcome back to Open the Voice Gate for May 31st, 2022. We are members of the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. You can find our podcast on the Voices of Wrestling Network feed or our own dedicated podcast feed on all podcast catchers and platforms. You can follow us on Twitter at Open Voice Gate. If you would like to donate to the show, click the link in the show notes. It'll take you to our redcircle.com landing site. You click the red box that says sponsor this podcast, and you can set up a one-time or recurring donation. No obligation whatsoever, but we would like to thank our previous backers. I'm one of your hosts. It's your old pal, Iron Max Beers. Joined alongside, as always, my co-host and friend Case Low. In case, I think we should just get right into it. I feel like that there's some cosmic weird vibes going throughout the world right now. But how are you?
I'm okay. I mean, you know, like I answered last week, and like someone astutely pointed out in the Discord, you asked me how my mental health was, and I said it's never good. And it's not that things are better or worse than last week, but yeah, it's interesting. Last week we had a show with a lot of news, and arguably news with a Z. It was a little clickbaity, and this is not a show, given the topics that we cover, that typically does that. This is, to me, what I like about this podcast is that I don't have to analyze a lot of business. I don't have to talk about a lot of gossip. I can talk about a lot of wrestling, which in this medium is arguably the hardest of those three things to talk about, but I enjoy talking about the wrestling. And this week is a wrestle-heavy episode. We have a number of matches, an entire show, 2 different promotions to talk about. There's a lot to like right now, and this will be one of those challenges where hopefully 45, 50 minutes in, it's not just you and I back and forth going, hey, this was really good. Hey, you know what? I liked this match. This was really good. But it does seem like over the past week, this was, like you said to me earlier before we started recording, this was a week that felt like a month, and there is a lot of things to cover. But the good news is I'm very excited about not only what we have to cover, but what's ahead. Let me ask you real quick. We're recording this a few days before the June 2nd Cork and Hall King of Gate finals and the June 3rd Toryumon reunion show. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited for those shows are you?
Oh, I'm an 11.
Oh, great, yeah.
This is my favorite. Like, King of Gate, sincerely, is my favorite time of the year for Dragongate. Because, at least for me, like Case, you know who my favorite wrestler to watch on the roster is? It's UT. So getting a chance to get a lot of dedicated singles matches for UT, even in the knockout format where he's not going to have as many matches, but now more matches are appearing on tape. I'm thriving. Like, Casey, you know how you might have noticed over the last few months, my star ratings, my reviews, I wouldn't say I was in a bad mood, but I was searching for something a little bit. Like, I was searching for something in this company. But let me tell you, on this show, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 4-star matches. And
wow.
This might be one of my favorite weeks that Dragon Gate's had in a long time. Like, this might be my favorite tournament that they've done. And and that might be something to get people angry at, considering how the Osaka results went in some ways, but I just absolutely adored this week.
That's kind of where I'm at. I was, of course, doing some show prep in the shower this afternoon. It's when I think about Open the Voice Gate the most. And I came to the conclusion that this King of Gate tournament has been perfectly booked. It has been so unpredictable, but so exciting. And any other promotion in the world, you know, one result goes awry and I lose faith in the entire process. But whether it's Kai losing in under a minute or Eita losing when he did, or the inclusion of Minorita, or the fact that we're now staring down the barrel of a Final Four with no Yamato, no KZ, no Shun Skywalker, no Eita. These are all possible red flags if you throw them out on paper, but you watch the way this tournament has been executed, and we're people who obviously do a Dragongate podcast, we're partial like this promotion, but I feel like you and I, over the past 2 to 3 years, have been really fair about what is hit and what hasn't. And for me, this King of Gate tournament has hit on every level. And I talk about this a lot, of course, because it's advantageous for us from a business standpoint, but also just because I like talking about Dragongate with so many people. I don't know how to get the guy that gets his wrestling news from Reddit to care about Dragongate, but God, it seems like this King of Gate tournament would be the time to do that. And I don't get the impression new fans have come aboard over the past month, which is crazy because the month of May, from Dead or Alive through this Osaka show on May 29th, what a great month of wrestling. I mean, I look at my spreadsheet here and I've got over a dozen 4+ star matches for the month. I think I've got 15 all total for this month alone. And that includes, yes, a number of 4-star, I'm partial to the style, so maybe I think they're better than the average wrestling fan matches. But that's also Kai versus Susumu, which is a top 10 match for me this year. KZ versus Skywalker, which we're going to talk about. Diamante versus Yoshioka, which I want to spend an hour talking about. Minoru versus KZ, which we talked about last week. Yamato versus Yoshioka, which I thought was brilliant from the start of this month. May of 2022, from a monthly point of view, is an all-time great Dragongate month, and I think you and I have lived in that. I think we've been very excited as we go into June, and then obviously Kobe World and the Ultimo Anniversary show at the end of July and early August. I'm so excited for what's to come because I have no idea what's to come, and that includes the Final Four of King of Gate. We know 3 of the 4 guys that are going to be in there. We have no clue what that 4th participant is going to do, but I don't care. I'm not worried about it. I'm excited about it, and I don't think the inroads have been made that should have been made this month in terms of outreach. And I don't know how to fix that. That's certainly not a critique on the English side of Dragongate. I just think this wrestling is so good, and I wish more people cared about it.
Yeah, it's something where, at least for me, I'm prepared to close the door on May. And I can't think of a time where at least, and of course this is all preference when we get down to it, I like a certain style of wrestling and Dragongate best represents that style of wrestling. But I can't remember a month where I had more 4-star matches on this Osaka show than I had for Double or Nothing this weekend. Like, think about that. I think this is one of the best in-ring months in Dragon System history. That's the point I'm getting to.
Oh, I would certainly agree with that. I mean, you obviously you would have to look at some of the months of May. I think May 2016 was a really good King of Gate. May 2014 had some high points. I always point to January of 2005 as a remarkable month for the promotion. Those are just the immediate ones that come to mind. But yeah, the overall output here between Dead or Alive, which was a very good show, the May Cork and Hall show, which I told everybody, batten down the hatches, that show was going to be great, and it was. The Sambo Hall show, which I thought was a ton of fun. The Kaito triple shot, which had great matches on it. Plus these house show matches, some of which King of Gate related, some of which not, which flirted with greatness. I mean, I have one house show match at 4 stars, and I have a handful at 3 3/4. This was a fun month, and to compare and contrast to AEW, because you just did, I was not into the build for Double or Nothing at all. I watched Dynamite every week, but for the month of May, I would not say I enjoyed Dynamite. It was more one of those deals where I had it on out of habit, but I was not fully paying attention to those shows just because I didn't care. I didn't like a number of the angles. Even things that I wanted to like, I didn't really care for the direction of it. I wasn't into Punk versus Hangman, at least in the build to it, despite being a big fan of both those guys. So at the last minute, I begrudgingly ordered Double or Nothing, and long, but a great show, and it reminded me, oh, that's right, this is a promotion that I care about and that I think is worthwhile. But none of these hiccups have existed in Dragongate, especially over the past month, but really this year. I mean, we're approaching the halfway point of the year, and the consistency of Dragongate up and down the card, from the rookies on the undercard to guys like Yamato and Dragon Kid, who are having really solid outings at the mid-card, to obviously this ever-changing and eccentric and exciting main event scene with Skywalker and Kai and Yoshioka and Dragon Dia and KZ and whoever else. I love this promotion right now, and I think 2020 was a banner year. That's when we started going weekly with these episodes, and there was a lot to like in 2020 once crowds returned in July. 2021 had its ups and downs. There were certainly times where we would come on here and go like, yeah, well, this match happened, and this match existed, and this match took place, and we'll see you next week. They've righted whatever wrongs I think they struggled with in 2021, and I'm just so content with this promotion as we head into what is going to be a massive week for the company, and hopefully we see 1,500 in Cork and Hall for both the King of Gate finale and the Toryumon reunion show. I'm just very happy with things right now. I'm really uncontent with a lot of the wrestling world, and I think this is the most, if I were to say I've been a quote-unquote smart fan, or at least a very tuned-in fan, I'll say, for 8 years. I started following New Japan in early 2014, Dragongate right around the same time. By that point, PWG, Ring of Honor, Dragongate USA, Evolve well in my rotation. So, 8 years roughly of being in this bubble, writing for VoicesOfWrestling.com since 2015. This is the most insular and focused I've been on Dragongate. I'm not scouring the internet for a 4-star Big Japan match. I'm pretty removed from what DDT is doing. I'm very turned off by Noah. I have long since cared about All Japan. Oddly enough, I'm watching more New Japan than I have in a few years now, but really, outside of the weekly Dynamites, I am spending all of my time on Dragongate, and that is, obviously it's a promotion that I love, but this is the first time that I feel like this is my only focus in wrestling, but I'm happy to do that because this product has been so good this year.
Yeah, I feel like in a way you're kind of going through a phase that I went through like in 2016, 2017, where I just was like, all right, I already at that point was still loosely covering Dragongate, but like I was the person who tried to watch everything, and then I realized like I just don't enjoy it. I just enjoy it. So I've gotten myself down like it's something that like I greatly mirror your thoughts on the build of Double or Nothing. People could read my preview at Spears of Asians for that. First time I've ever done that case, by the way.
Sounded good. Sounded healthy.
Yeah. So it's something where like I feel like that we're in like this weird spot in the overall industry. Like I find myself more compelled now by the macro trends, if that makes sense, in wrestling. Like I could care less at this point. Like I now have a personal rule for me covering WWE now. Do you want to hear what it is?
I would love to.
It has to either be 2 standard deviations better or worse than what you consider an average.
Okay.
2 standard deviations. So it has to either be exponentially 2 times better or exponentially 2 times worse. Because I just like, I'm more interested at like, maybe I am the sicko who's more interested in like in trends in business right now in the industry than I am about the product that's being put on screens most nights. But Dragongate, let me tell you this, Dragongate, you sit down, you put on the YouTube things, catching up, watching some Yamagata, some Nigata, and Okayama, and then closing out with Osaka, man, that's what I'm here for. This is the wrestling that I love.
Well, one of the points that I tried to hammer home a few weeks ago, might have even just been last week, I don't know, time has, I was hit today that by the time people are listening to this, it's going to be June, which freaked me out, but I also feel like this past week, like I said, it felt like a year. There was just a lot going on in my life, but also within the Dragongate universe. But one of the points that I've tried to hammer home recently is, hey, yes, this promotion has great matches. Yes, the stories are there. But these Dragongate shows are fun right now. And there have been points in time, I mean, I joke with Mike all the time about, what's worse than sitting down and watching a 2018 Kobe Sambo Hall show. Those were the driest, most boring, painful watches to sit through 6 or 7 matches, and from matches 1 through 7 going, God, I don't want to watch this. God, I don't want to watch this. God, I don't want to watch this. And I don't have that at all right now, and especially as someone who focuses on the scene in Japan. I mean, AEW is great. I like that I have an American wrestling product that like people at work know what AEW is, and I don't have to go, oh, I like wrestling, but I also like this weird thing. No, it's like I like AEW, and that's good enough for conversation. But in Japan, things just aren't fun. It's a bummer. I mean, I've enjoyed the Super Juniors tournament because I think Super Juniors this year has been really fun. But as a as a nation, wrestling in Japan right now is just not fun. And I feel like Dragongate is the only company that I can sit down and obviously I'm going to hyper focus on it, but in a weird way, I can also just relax while watching it.
Yeah, I guess like that. I have a two-pronged question based off of that. Do you think that just like relating both Dragon Gate to Japan and then the Japanese scene in general, do you think that because of the way that just because of the runoff of COVID, that the crowds, it's just completely in a way have kept things at such a standstill that in a lot of ways, other than like, that's the Super Juniors, they're able to bring all these people in now. So you're not dealing with the core roster and who else they could pay to come join the tournament. Do you think that it's just because like we've been so stagnant, or at least we as a fan base been watching this industry that's been so stagnant since March of 2020, whereas Dragon Gate, where like we can't do that? Because I feel like that's where you're getting to there.
I have a general, not disdain is too strong. I think there's a general malaise with the in-ring style. I mean, what I like primarily is junior heavyweight wrestling, and I think junior heavyweights are at an all-time low in Japan right now. I don't think the Noah division is that strong. I don't think the All Japan division is that strong. I like the New Japan division a hell of a lot more when they have foreigners, and let me say credit to Alex Zane, who I have always been incredibly hard on. I have not seen, at times, really anything in him, but I've never seen what most people have seen in him. Alex Zane has been a lot of fun on the Super Juniors tour, so good for him. Jack Cartwheel saving GLEAT, a guy who I certainly did not buy into at first, but I'm into Jack Cartwheel right now. The junior heavyweight scene in Japan is really, really rough. And not having, I mean, Osaka Pro started up, and we'll see what comes of that, but not having like a secondary junior promotion outside of Dragongate certainly is hurting my interest. But then also just with what we have, I don't love the parts. And then, I still love Okada. I'm still going to watch all of Okada's big matches, but Miyahara and Shiozaki and Kitamiya, I've seen them, and maybe that is where the stagnation comes in, where I'm waiting for something new from these guys, and it's just not happening. But I think that's part of what gets me so excited about Dragongate is, we talked about the 5-year plan, but just the possibilities of 6 months to a year from now, and I look at some of these other promotions, and I feel like I've seen it before. I know what's coming because it has already come and gone, and they're going to circle back to it, and I don't find that to be too exciting.
All right, let's talk about not knowing what's coming up, Case. Should we get into this King of Gate stuff? Because I think basically everyone's bracket is busted for the most part at this point.
Oh my God. No one had a Final Four.
I had 3. I had 3 of the Final Four. That was
who did you not have? Kondo?
No, I didn't have Eita. I thought Kondo was going on a run here.
Oh, that's right. So Eita was in the lower right-hand corner. Is that Shun? That's Shun's spot.
Yeah, that's Shun. Yeah.
Fascinating.
They should have been really cute and named it like Ulti, the sponge name. I'm trying to think of other mascots that they could have done with that. I mean, Anthony W. Mori, he's a mascot. That should have been a region.
Give one of the quadrants to the Lek Corporation's grandson, whatever his name is. That's his quadrant of the bracket. Yeah, they could have sold that. That would have been a good sponsorship.
Sponge grandson bracket. But yes. So we're not operating on spoilers here. The final 4 at this point are Shuji Kondo, Yuki Yoshioka, Shun Skywalker, and then X. Jason Lee won his quarterfinal match against BB Hulk, but suffered a concussion therein. We'll talk about the match later, but it's very clear that this was the right move, and they have not announced as of time of recording what the format is going to be. I know Jay mentioned putting Hulk in there, maybe doing a 4-way with all the other quarterfinalists, doing a Dragon Royal, but we're just kind of left here right now until probably Wednesday, knowing what the exact change they're going to be making there.
My guess, I don't even say my guess, my hope is that they do a Battle Royal, and I specifically think Dragon Kid should win that Battle Royal, and we should do Kano versus Kid in the semifinals, but what? That's the other thing about Dragongate is we haven't had cards to preview this entire year, and I still don't like it, but in moments like this, it's very interesting to go, okay, well, there's this tournament with massive implications. We're 2 days away from the finale, and we don't know what's going to happen, and that puts everybody, but especially us, in an interesting position.
Yeah. So let's talk about how we got there. How we've gotten to this final three here. Okay, starting off with May 24th in Yamagata. I will say this, I mostly just watched the King of Gate shows other than one match on Yamagata, just so everyone knows like why I don't have anything to say about a random 6-man tag. But from Yamagata and King of Gate, we had UT versus Yuki Yoshioka, and then we had the retirement match of Shoya Sato. So just overall, this was just like one of those things that only Dragon Gate does this whole day that they put up on YouTube, in my opinion.
Phenomenal stuff. Let's start with the King of Gate match, Yoshioka versus UT. We had talked about their 2019 match, the third place contest from the 2019 rookie ranking tournament a few months ago. You can go back in the Open the Voice Gate feed and find that episode. I thought we did really good work there, looking at what I called at the time the freshman class, all of these rookies and youngsters that Dragon Gate had in 2018 and 2019. They put them in a 7-man tournament, and we got to see that's the start of Shun Skywalker's main event career right there. But there was that third place match of Yoshioka versus UT, and at the time, these were two guys that had yet to come into their own, and there's an argument to be made, especially in the case of Yoshioka, that he has even more room to grow now, despite being as good as he is. But yeah, this match was exactly what I expected it to be. Yoshioka was a dominant and forceful base for UT, who climbed around him like a jungle gym. This had, for a 13-minute match, frenetic pacing to it. The cardio that these two have that they kind of showed off, I thought was incredibly impressive. And this is one of those matches that it's weird. I think the way people watch this promotion, where we could say, oh, this is more accessible than the network, it's on YouTube. But this is also one of those matches that if it happened in Korakuen Hall or even in Osaka, I think it would have more buzz than it does, because this was a very good match.
Yeah, I absolutely love this match, guys. Like, that should not surprise you whatsoever.
No, it does not.
Yeah. Just they got after it immediately, and then they did strong grappling. It's something that, like, seeing Yuki Yoshioka as himself and not as Dragongate reminds you of, like, oh, wait, this guy really is close thing to a 5-tool player, like, being more than willing to play in UT's playground. And we got that really sick Bien Yave tease partway through. And I kind of came to a determination here that I got to say, this is going to be my storyline going into Wednesday. I think this is Yuki Yoshioka's tournament. Not to win the tournament. Maybe he could at this point. I don't know. But he has not had less than a 4-star match in this tournament so far. I think he's the MVP of King of Gate.
I was going to say this for the Diamante match, but you set it up so beautifully, so I will talk about it here. People do not realize how good Yuki Yoshioka is. And that has been the case his entire career. This guy came in sandwiched in between, and this will sound so odd, but he was sandwiched in between Benkei and Shun Skywalker and Katsumi Takashita. And that is a name, that was his name, right?
Yeah, Katsumi Takashima. Yeah,
Takashima. Takashima got all of this buzz because he was a rookie whose first match was in Korakuen Hall. And obviously, anybody that has followed this promotion at all over the last 5 or 6 years knows Benkei and Shun Skywalker, and those were two guys who, from the jump, had a lot of buzz to their name. And Yoshioka was the middle child in this equation. There's Hyo there too, but yeah, I think you and I especially put a lot of emphasis on Hyo in the early going. So Yoshioka, his buzz just slipped through the cracks because he came in at a time where Ben and Shun had already kind of established themselves as these really fun rookies. And by the time we got to that fateful December 1st, 2016 match, something that we've referenced a million times on this podcast, the rookies versus veterans, Takashima was the guy that had a little bit of buzz because it was his very first match and it was in Korakuen Hall. And that has seemed to set the precedent for Yoshioka over the next 5 years, that he's always in the shadow of someone else. He was at Mochizuki Dojo and he was great there, but nobody thinks, when they think Mochizuki Dojo, no one's going, oh god, that time in Yuki Yoshioka's career wasn't that great. Even now in D-Courage, I think at least within the space that we operate in, the people that we talk to, our little community, it's D-Courage and it's Dragondaya and then Yuki Yoshioka in terms of popularity. And that's not a slight on Yoshioka at all. He's had this unfortunate knack for being surrounded by the buzzworthy guys. And it's worked for him to some degree, and I think it's taken away from his shine a little bit. This is the first time that as a singles entity and as a future main eventer, which is very clearly the way he's being positioned here, not only in this tournament, but in D-Courage as a whole, he is being positioned as a future guy, and he is firing on all cylinders. You're exactly right, Mike. He is the MVP of this tournament. Nobody is close. And I think as time goes on, he's going to be one of these sneaky guys where one day he's going to be in the main event of, Dangerous Gate or Gate of Destiny, and he's going to crush it. And then people will go, oh, that's right. Yuki Yoshioka is one of the best wrestlers in the world, top 25, top 50, top 75. Whatever that is, whatever that demarcation point is up to you. But he is going to be one of those guys. He arguably is one of those guys already. But for whatever reason, throughout his 6-year career, he has never been the spotlight. And King of Gate 2022 is the most spotlight that's ever been on him. And he has crushed it. He has crushed it in every single match.
I think the really cool thing about Yoshioka is that he's kind of this overlooked person. He's understated. Like, there's a reason, Case, why I always say, like, oh, his comp is Susumu Mochizuki, right? Because, like, he has a lot of the same tendencies, if only, I think he has a little bit of a higher ceiling than Susumu ever had. It's something that, like, he has, like, the quiet coolness with, like, Daya and everyone else around him, and you just kind of stand back, and you're like, oh, yeah, Dragon Daya, that he's the cool skateboard guy, but his quiet friend just throws people around and then gives the heaviest frog splash possible to you. And I think it works for him long term. Like, it's something where, it's the core tenet of Dragon Gate is forming the relationship between the wrestlers and fans here. He, I feel like, has an ability that's going to be a very endearing and enduring, like, fandom for Yuki Yoshioka in a way that I don't necessarily see other people having, like, this like never say die. Like, can't you see like if we were in a previous era, like, huge Yuki Yoshioka banners already in Cork and Hall, and just be like, oh yeah, these people like Yuki Yoshioka, because I feel like that he has that vibe right now.
Yeah, he is a pilot. He is somebody that when I get on the plane, I immediately feel good. I trust him. I know we're going to get to our location. I don't have to worry about anything. And that is weirdly a presence that I think he's always had. I mean, even in 2018 and 2019,
maybe in 2016.
Yeah,
he was the most he, like, compared to the other rookies, he was the one with the biggest command of the ring and the quiet confidence there.
He's always done that. I like him so much. He clocks in, he does his job, he does it well, and he clocks out. And that can go one of two ways in Dragon Gate, and he has figured out a way to do it favorably. I've always been a big fan. I'm stoked that this is a tournament where he's crushed it the way he has. And you're right. I think Susumu, but an even higher ceiling, is a very fair comp for where he's at in his career right now.
Apparently, he's a really good talker. That was something that I remember talking with people about, like, during Prime Zone days. So it's like, no, don't worry about him. He doesn't seem like this, but he's actually really funny. It'll work for him.
Well, that's what I was trying to think was, have I seen Yuki Yoshioka cut a promo? And I'm sure I have, but I, off the top of my head, just have no recollection of that. So I was wondering that, and I was going to ask people as soon as we stopped recording, hey, what's his promo like? Because that is obviously a big factor in his main event success.
It could have been. Things could have changed over COVID. It changed for a lot of us, but at least last time I heard, he was pretty fine with that.
Hold on. That's the other thing that I think we have to mention about Yoshioka, that I tend to believe, and perhaps I'm incorrect, but from the people that I talked to about this promotion, there was a new fan that joined the fray at Kobe World 2019, and maybe not everybody jumped on there, but I think we have a new generation of viewer from Kobe World 2019 that attaches themselves to a KZ and a Shun and even an Ishida, maybe more so than a Dragon Kid, a Yamato, a Genki Horiguchi, etc. Those older guys. There's a new fan here that really connects to this current crop of main eventers. The thing with Yoshioka is that he was gone for 2 years. And so if you jumped in, let's say World 2019, or let's say you jumped in March 22nd, 2020, that first empty arena show that was uploaded on YouTube, by that point, Yoshioka's gone. He's in Mexico for a year, and then he's Dia Inferno for a year. And, Inferno had its ups and downs. I was a little more favorable to the gimmick than I think most people were. At times he crushed it, at times he did not. But he was out of sight, out of mind, Yuki Yoshioka as an entity for 2 years. And that's the other thing, is that he is now 6 months into this run in D-Courage, already winning people over. And just kind of, once he came back, it was business as usual. It was, yep, that's right. He's cool, calm, and collected, Yuki Yoshioka. Let's forget this Dia Inferno thing. He's back to the guy we thought he was, and he's even better than the guy we thought he was. It's so amazing what he's been able to do in this finite period of time, because, think so much changed from when he left in February of 2020 to when he came back as Yuki Yoshioka in January of 2022. It's remarkable what he's done, and he deserves a little bit of a round of applause.
Absolutely. It's gonna be fun with him. Like, I could tell, like, this is something that it's worth going back and revisiting stuff, from the rookie ranking tournament, the stuff they have already have up on the network. It's really worth doing that because there's some really cool stuff up there. The main match in Yamagata, and something that we knew last week, but because of time's recording, we didn't get a chance to get to, is the retirement match for Shoya Sato. He teamed with Takuma Fujiwara, Minorita, Ishin, and Hashi, the healthy members of the future class of 2021, versus Masaki Mochizuki, Don Fuji, Susumu Mochizuki, and a returning general manager, Ryo Saito. Of course, it was the Sato Natoshi on Sato by Don Fuji to retire him, and then they did a really sweet visual pin of Don Fuji afterwards that cracked me up, and then they had one of those dang Dragon Gate retirement ceremonies, guys.
Yeah, this was beautifully done, and I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I went 4 stars of the match. I thought it was legitimately great. I went 3 3/4 on Yoshioka versus Yuti, and I went 4 stars on this main event. It is such a bummer that this is the end of Sato's career. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, Mike, but his Dragongate Twitter has been deleted, which I believe was his doing, not the company's, because my impression from this is that he's family, and that even though his career was 6 months long, Sato is somebody that is going to be welcome back, at least from a community standpoint, whenever he wants it. I mean, Don Fuji in particular, a man who has been known to not be the nicest at times. Don Fuji in particular, very open in his public support for him. It's such a bummer that Sato went away as quickly as he did, just for a number of reasons, but selfishly in the ring. One of these things that I think differentiates the class of 2021 from any other Dragon Gate class is all of these multi-man matches that they've had, these big tag team matches where it's the young guys, this class against the old guys. These young guys work with like chemistry, like they've been teaming together for 15 years. Their offense, when they string moves together, is so well constructed, and that is something that maybe outside of the initial Toriyama class, just because they were only wrestling each other, I've never seen a class of rookies work together the way these guys do. And it obviously bleeds over into their singles matches as well, as we saw with Fujiwara versus Ishin. But God, it's such a bummer that this is the end of the road for Sato, and to a degree the end of the road for these matches.
Yeah, I don't know any particulars, but I do strongly get the sense that Shoya Sato is someone that, who knows, if whenever they get themselves up to Hoku, maybe he's the guy who's putting on the shows. Like, I could see that, like, him becoming the local area promoter for that area. And because it wasn't just 6 months. Like, that's the thing about him. Like, yes, he wrestled basically 15 matches and his career was 6 months long, but he was someone that was a part of the dojo dating back into 2019. So this is a guy who has some pretty deep ties here, and just was really nice. Like, every single note I have down here was nice stuff, really nice. Glad Shoya got the shine. And it just was one of those things that it's sad. Like, first and foremost, it's sad, and it's something that in a lot of ways just because of like the age and just like the obvious reverence that everyone had for him, he was kind of felt like a little bit like the emotional leader of the class. So losing him like this like regardless of age, previous wear and tear and like that. It's just a bummer, and one can only hope that his next career, next future is as bright as he's shown in Dragon Gate for those 6.
The Don Fuji chokeslam, which was immediately countered into a Shoya Sato armbar, that was sort of the last hope spot that he had, just blew me away. It's so clear there was so much potential there, and what he and Fuji did was magical, and I'm so disappointed we didn't get more of it. This will be a very interesting career to look back on, because with a Sora Fujikawa or the aforementioned Takashima, these are guys who we liked, who showed some potential, and then they went away. But yeah, Sato, like you said, has been in the dojo since 2019. When he debuted, at least I talked to a few people. They're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he's finally made it. He's worked so hard for this," and it felt like a triumph in itself to have him debut. And then whatever success he had along the way was at that point just gravy. And I think that's why this retirement came across so well. Was this is a guy who the fact that he debuted was the victory, and anything else was merely extra credit. And this was a beautiful ceremony, and in the same way that the Yoshino one was, and the Kness one was, and 12 years ago the Anthony W. Mori one was. This company is just it's different, and it's clear that Sato's family and what they did here was so nice and so touching. I highly recommend you carve out an hour on YouTube and watch the entire file from what they uploaded.
Absolutely. It's definitely one of those great things about the YouTube, which I'd noticed, like, they've grown that thing. Like, so hopefully that means that they'll stick with it. Though one of the nice things is that we got something like this, whereas we probably at most would have gotten maybe a director's commentary in past years, maybe a bumper of it. So it was nice that at the very least YouTube is around for that. The next day they were in Niigata. A lot of stuff happened on this show. We had 2 King of Gate matches, Strong Machine J versus Shun Skywalker, along with KZ versus Minorita. Which one of those did you want to lead off with here?
Let's go with the Skywalker match, just because it was short and effective for what it was.
Yeah, so Shun Skywalker jackknifed his way out of a machine suplex win in 6 minutes. This match left me wanting case. I was really, really liking it, and it was an effective way to do the finisher. But they basically, for Strong Machine J, and as a stockholder of Strong Machine J, you have to be pleased with your returns, your earnings there on that match.
Oh, I'm pumped. It's like a good time to get it on crypto. It could come crashing down, but right now I feel really, really good about it. This was like, okay, this will alienate the audience because I don't think most people will know what I'm talking about. I felt watching this match the same way that like the Segunda Keita or PWO guys feel about watching a 2009 Matt Hardy ECW match, where I'm like, no, look at the punches, look at the footwork of Strong Machine J. This guy's so good, because it's a 6-minute match that had approximately 0 high spots in it, and I'm still like, no, this match was really good, you guys. Like this was really, really good, and that's what it was to me. Was just an effective, essentially a Dragongate TV match with Skywalker and Strong Machine, and then the fuck finish there, I think, adds a little more emphasis to my point. Really efficient, really makes me want to see what these guys could do with twice the time if you throw this match at 12 minutes instead of 6. Let me ask you, before you give your thoughts of the match, Strong Machine J was approached by High End in May. They asked him to join. He said, talk to me after King of Gate, and basically hit the hater button on them. Does Strong Machine J join High End this week? What is going on there? What do you think his next step is?
I mean, do I want him to join High End? No, I don't. I don't want anything to happen of High End case. I want High End to cease to exist. But do I think he will? Yeah. I mean, he kind of fits now at this point, and he brings an energy that they need. It doesn't really help out the big problem with High End. No, but they need a win. Yamato needs a win. I can't believe I'm saying this. Yamato needs a win this year.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I think he's fine. Have you seen? Hold on. Have you seen the new High End T-shirt?
Is this the one of blue on it?
It's a white T-shirt with I will say, a pretty cool High End blue and red logo on the front. but the back of the t-shirt, and you can look at this at the Shop DG Pro website, it says, "Are you excited? ? Team High End, official member." Mike, are you excited about High End?
I think we both know you knew the question since you asked it. No, of course I'm not. How could I be?
It's a good looking t-shirt. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I like the logo on it. It didn't look half bad there.
It kind of looks like a hardcore t-shirt. Like if this was not in white, I would certainly wear this, despite my feelings on High End.
And even the high-end emblem, now that I'm looking at it, like blue and red should have been their colors. They shouldn't have messed with gold anyways.
That is something that when we do our year in review, we really need to make note of the fact that High End's colors were gold and red, and then Gold Class came in and just jacked their shit. And it was a little press release. Hey, just so you guys know, High End's wearing silver now. That is so funny, and we mentioned it in the moment, but as time goes on, that only makes me laugh more and more.
Yeah, no, it's a great moment. By the way, you can still buy a Team Boku support towel for 1,650 yen right now on Dragongate's web shop.
Okay, everybody pause the podcast, get your credit cards out, and come back to us once you've purchased your Team Boku merch.
Case, it's not just a sale. They're listing it as a super sale. I'm trying to see how many they're letting me to buy right now. All right, I'm already at 40.
Oh, God.
Oh, they only have 7 left. 7 left.
Oh, thank God.
So, if we're breaking this news to you and you listen to this, I like to know when it goes out of stock. Of all you Team Boku fans out there. So,
all of you.
Well, John Hernandez and Rio Saito. So, there's one sold.
Yeah, well, I like a lot about John Hernandez. I don't have to like everything about him.
But, this is something that they really mesh so well. And it's something that the thing that got me was this felt like a heavyweight match between the two of them in this.
That's a very good point. Yes.
And it was something that I walked away 3.25 stars, but that was only because it was 6 minutes. I wanted more of this. This was something that I felt like it was left me wanting in a good way for it.
And then we had KZ versus Minorita, which was a spectacle, to say the least.
Yeah, so KZ won with the running elbow smash. Good for Minorita. I'll take my L now on Takumi Hayakawa. Good for him. This was the Minorita show, very much so in a lot of different ways. A real interesting way of working face and heel. But boy, they got everything they could want out of this character in this match.
I feel like we've said this a few times now, and maybe the reality is he's just far more versatile than we thought he was. But I feel like a few different times we've gone, okay, this is his peak. Whether it's Hayakawa or Minorita, we have seen his peak, and he kind of continues to redefine not what he is, but what he's capable of, given who he is. And I do think that's worth mentioning, and I do think that's really impressive that this is a guy who debuted in October in a rush, and so months later, he's proven that he can do a lot of things. He can have a pretty straightforward wrestling match and be entertaining. He can do comedy spots. He can do heel sidekick spots. Like, Fujiwara gets the headlines, and rightfully so, and when Sato was an active wrestler, he was garnering a lot of attention, and rightfully so. But Minorita is a damn impressive wrestler, given all of the things that he can do. And this is a guy who, given his size, even in this promotion, if he was one-dimensional, I think he would very quickly be slotted in a Punch Tamanaga-like position. But he is continuing to keep his head above water. And I thought this match with KZ was just so much better than it had any right to be. I went 3 3/4 on this. I flirted with going 4 stars. It was... I didn't think he had this in him. It goes to show, KZ is just on another level right now. He's unreal, but Minorita was right there with him.
Yeah, no, I went 3.5 stars on this. This was great. This was a good time. The work was great. I mean, if Minorita just wants to try to ape Yoshino and try to be the fastest wrestler ever as a part of it, compensating for his size, perfect, because they found the balance of the speed in that match in a way that, you know how you'd always notice, Yoshino just was, tricked up a little bit more than most people running the ropes. You know that feeling you used to get watching him. I got not the same feeling, but I was like, wow, Minorita's actually really fast. So they should really play up the fact that, with the size, he's more aerodynamic. He's super fast.
They should have him and Nozawa do a 40-yard dash.
Case, we can't get these ideas out on air.
Do you think Nozawa would hit the 20-yard mark? Oh, fuck. Sorry. I forgot I'm talking about Dragongate management. Hey, by the way, were we not clear last week when we confirmed that the Nozawa story is not true? Because I read something that made it seem like we weren't clear that we talked to people inside the company that said this wasn't true. Did that not happen? Did we fuck that up somehow?
Man, the last 3 weeks have been a fever dream for me to begin with. I was fairly certain several times on air. I was very insistent in saying that unprompted I was told that without me asking. I was told.
I read something about what we said, and I was like, wait a minute. We spent 40 minutes saying the opposite. What the fuck? If that wasn't clear.
Shouldn't have made fun of the aggregators.
It was my fault. I did call out Reddit. I was very confused when I read that. I typically don't care to read feedback on stuff that I do because I hate what I do, but some people seem to like it, and that's good enough for me. But I read a comment somewhere on Reddit, and I was like, wait, well, no. I thought we explicitly said we talked to people in the company that said this wasn't true. Why is this person saying the opposite? I did not understand that. So sorry to derail my fun 40-yard dash topic, but that has stuck with me all week, that maybe we weren't clear enough somehow. I thought we were pretty direct.
But let me answer your previous thought there. He makes 15 yards and then rips a heater. Like, that's as far as he goes. But yeah, just a further triple underline, bold, italicize this. Nozawa is not booking Dragongate.
And if Shuji Kondo wins King of Gate, Nozawa's still not booking Dragongate.
well, let's get into Shuji Kondo's second round match then, Case.
Please.
From Okayama, the home of Sachi Hokoboy. He was all over YouTube with this. We had Shuji Kondo defeating Jackie Funky Kamei in 8 minutes and 1 second with a pair of King Kong lariats. And Case, I want to get your thoughts first on.
I thought this match was awesome. I mean, there's probably a better version of this out there, but this was probably the best Rey Mysterio Jr. performance that Kamei has had, which is, very high praise coming from me. He threw himself at the bigger guy. Some of it landed, some of it didn't. And all in all, it was super entertaining, in my opinion.
So I went 3 1/4, and I was disappointed.
Interesting. Okay, please, you have the floor.
So Jackie went after it to start with. And for the first minute and a half, it was all JFK just like getting after him like a spider monkey. Just take the quote from Talladega Nights. He just was, whatever he could do, he was doing. And then it slowed down massively when Shuji Kondo got in control. And that bugged me. Because I was like, we saw Kondo pin the Dreamgate champion after 4 lariats in 36 seconds. I thought he was we got to see Kamei make an attempt and then get destroyed. No, that they went on with that. If they would have went straight home there, given him the Jackie Knife Hope spot, and then lariated him to hell, that would have been a 4.5-star match in my books. What I was wanting in this match, I did not get out of it. So that's on me.
Interesting. I see your point. I like Kondo's offense, though. I went 3.5. It's not like we're on totally separate pages here, but I like Kondo's offense. I liked his control period, even if it slowed Kamei down. I thought it was worthwhile.
I think the thing with Kondo now, I feel like that in some weird way, the last 2 years didn't happen, and now he's freshly debuting with the way he's been booked and the way he's conducting himself. Because he had the ability to disappear like none other since he returned, and then he had the injury. But this felt like the run that we were anticipating in 2020 out of.
Well, it's because he's in King of Gate, and so yes, you're exactly right. The past 2 years have basically been a fever dream, and they have been irrelevant because we've been waiting since May of 2020 for Shuji Kondo to be in King of Gate, and it has finally happened. And boy, has he made the most of it.
Well, the problem is that we already have an X on Thursday, and it can't be him.
That's a very good point. Yeah, no, we're really... that really means it could be anybody, because it's not going to be Shuji Kondo.
Let's leave Katsuo up in northern Japan, where they found him last week.
What show was Katsuo on? That wasn't this show, was it?
No, Katsuo was Hakutate.
Okay, and that was Hulk versus Kakuta, which we don't need to talk about. But real quick, because you are the expert on this, and I'll steal a line from Norm Macdonald, because this match was uploaded to the Dragongate YouTube channel. Explain to the folks at home who Katsuo is.
So Yuki Ono was the fourth graduate of the Dragongate Dojo and came in right after Kira Tozawa. Like, he's the fun one that's like, okay, so I expect you to name the first 5 debuts out of Dragongate, right? It goes Shingo, Hulk, Tozawa, Katsuo, and Yamato. Well, that's Katsuo. The thing about Katsuo is Katsuo was not very gifted, I think is a fair way to put it, Case.
God, I'm just thinking about how one of those things is not like the other. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
those 4 and Katsuo.
That's right. So he bounced around in the late 2000s in Dragon Gate. Like his biggest roles when he was a part of the full-time roster was he was Tozawa's tag team partner in the Metabolic Brothers, that was kind of a topic in the Discord today in a weird way, and was a member of course, Tozawa Juku, and then later became Cyber Kong Sito. And then after the Cyber Kong Sito act, pretty much left the company. He's now represents, I had it pulled up a second ago, I don't know a single damn thing about this promotion, which is wild for me, kids, because I love knowing these things. He's from Dodon Pro, or Donan Ring, I guess. But like, he's bounced around a lot. Like, he was living in the Rikyu Islands for a bit. Like, he was doing some Rikyu Dragon shows and some Kyushu Pro for a while.
Those are at least promotions I respect, because we were starting to veer into grimy territory that only you and a few other perverts know about. But you said Kyushu Pro, and I obviously respect that promotion incredibly, to an incredible degree.
Yeah, I'm right now searching Donan Ring Wrestling on Google, not translating it at all. Number 2 thing that hits for his current home promotion, Case, it is Vince McMahon and Donald Trump's Battle of the Billionaires from WrestleMania 24. That is what you find when you search for the promotion that Katsuo is a part of.
I see he wrestled for Ice Ribbon in 2019. That is a lot. That is a lot to handle.
I mean, it makes sense. You know, I'm not saying it facetiously. It does. I mean, Ice Ribbon sometimes will bring in random people like that. So yeah. So that's 3 minutes on Katsuo.
Hold on, I did not realize, and we'll move on in just a second because I think we're the only people that care about this. I do not remember him on the Dragongate Hawaii trip. This match must have not made TV, of Cyber Kong, Sito, and Yamato versus Shisa Boy, Super Shenlong, and Super Shisa, which now that I read that match out loud might be my new Dragongate Holy Grail, because I want to see that match so bad.
Well, I'll tell you what my current Dragongate a dream match that I want to go find. Actually, this is from Hakuta Pro Wrestling. It's Katsuo and Shigeyuki Kawahara defeat Darkness Bear.
Okay, now so you said Darkness Bear the way Chris Zellner says obscure Japanese indie wrestlers on Between the Sheets, and much like when he does that, I don't know who that is.
Well, I don't know who that is either, Darkness Bear, but it was Darkness Bear and Shota Nakagawa. Darkness Bear has wrestled for 2 years, and also is known as Kumakichi. Let's see if they've wrestled anywhere. Oh, they've wrestled in both GLEAT and 0-1. Okay, good for you, I guess. That's
by the way, if you're thinking about tuning out of this podcast, just remember we do have GLEAT talk at the end of the episode.
That's only the first mention of that there. So, we have not talked about the second King Gate match. This is round 6 of Kaito Ishida versus Keisuke Hakuta for a King of Gate second round matchup. It was Kaito Ishida winning and advancing on to face Shuji Kondo with a PK.
I thought this match was outstanding. 4 stars from me. It was Ishida and Hakuta, which is normally a very simple combination. But I thought this was really good work by Keisuke Hakuta and the way that he sold his knee throughout this match.
Yeah, God, Ishida worked his leg in a way you don't see that often, and I thought that was very fascinating. Like, if we've already cited Yuki Yoshioka is the MVP, he might be the runner-up Ishida, because he's really shown a spring in his step that doesn't necessarily get to do as the third guy or really the fourth guy in gold class when you really want to think about it. It was off to the races. I like this. I didn't like it as much as the series that they had before this, but I had one big thought that was stuck in my head afterwards, Case, that I need to talk to someone about. And you're the one
Please.
person who would understand this.
Please.
Do you think Keisuke Hakuta is going to age weird? Because I thought there were some weird camera angles we got from him here that he looked a lot older than he was. Like, I think he's going to age really weird.
Is he going to age weird physically?
Like facially, like he's someone that when the wrinkles come in and when the hair goes, like he already has his hair silver, but I was like, man, Keisuke Hakuta kind of looks like an old man, right?
He is at risk of one day looking like Riki Choshu, in the sense that his body could be leathery and gross and hard to look at. And I say that with all due respect to one of the 20 greatest wrestlers of all time in Riki Choshu. Yes. Wow. Rarely am I speechless, but you are onto something with the fact that a lot of this roster, young, handsome boys, will age very well. They'll turn into nice, handsome adults. Keisuke Hakuta could one day look pretty rough. Wow. A great point by you.
I just like it's something where it caught me. I was like, he doesn't have he looks like that he's gonna weather. Like he's gonna be weathered, you know. And same thing for Ben.
Well, Ben, who knows? I don't even want that. Like makes me sad. I don't even want to speculate about that because I worry about Ben's health. But Hakuta is going to age really weird. That's a really good point. It's just. What's the best case scenario of him at 50 years old? I don't think there is one.
So there is a Japanese actor that's stuck in my head that I think he's going to look like, but his name is not coming to my mind right now. And the guy looks like he's 50 years old. Oh, I know who he reminded me of. It's not an actor. It's a photographer. There's a judge that's constantly on old Iron Chef that looks just like him right now. And that got fixated in my brain during this match, Case. I'm sorry. I had the brainworm, and I needed to share it to someone. I'm sorry you got affected.
No, that's okay, because it made me think about Yukio Sakaguchi, who I really like as a wrestler, and I love, and still, for as little GDT as I watch, whenever there's a trios match with Sakaguchi, Higuchi, and Saki Aki, I love that trio. And I'm just trying to think if Hakuta will look half as good as Sakaguchi does at his age, because Sakaguchi's an older guy, and I just don't see that happening. I just, like, to me, Sakaguchi is one handsome motherfucker. I think he looks great.
He's one of the coolest looking dudes in all of wrestling, like, straight up. Like, he stands next to 50 next year, and he looks awesome.
And he stands next to Sakiaki, who has that, like, Anna Jay level, like, you are so pretty, why are you in the wrestling industry? Like, you don't have to do this. You could literally do anything you wanted to do. Why are you in this industry? And those two together look incredible. Like, they look so good together, and I just don't think Hakuta will one day hit that mark.
I mean, aren't we all just out there looking for the Saki Akais in our lives?
Yeah, Saki Akai. I apologize. I butchered that name. Sorry, DDT fans. I certainly am. Oh my god, I would love to roam the streets of Tokyo with her. That'd be a really good time. That would make me look really good.
Yeah, everyone in their bright white school uniforms, you know, because that's what they're wearing. They wear like those white jackets. I forgot what they're called right now. The Garrican jackets.
Whatever she wants me to wear, I'm wearing it. I'm not. Free will is overrated. You tell me what to do, I'll do it.
On that note, Case, should we get into this full Osaka Irie 2 show?
Oh my god, you're right. We haven't even gotten to that yet. Yes, let's talk about it.
All right. So this was on the 29th. It'll be up on the network until the 5th. And this was the last bit before Corkin. We got all of the quarterfinal matches, Case. What were your thoughts overall of the show?
This is one of my favorite shows of the entire year. I watched this live, and then I rewatched most of the show that evening. This was it aired Sunday morning in America. I rewatched most of this show before Double or Nothing. I don't know when the show happened. Anyways, I watched it basically twice. I love the show from start to finish. It is one of those rare shows where, you know, we still get hit with the question, hey, when do I jump in? What show do I watch? This is one of those. Put this on from start to finish, like it, move on with your life, follow the promotion from here. It's that good of a show, and it's that easy of a watch.
Yeah, outside of the one match with obvious issues, I didn't have a match below 3.25 stars here. Like they've had this streak now where, and I value myself as a very critical grader, as much as that matters, which is not at all. It's been a while since I've had a Dragon Gate show where I've had multiple 2-star matches, Case. They've just been in gear.
And it's interesting because my perspective on Jason versus Hulk is different, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, this was a very fun show from the opening match onwards.
Yeah, let's get into that opening match. This was Young Vibes, Jackie Funky Kamei and UT teaming with Madoka Kakuta against the Z-Brats team of Kai, SB, Kento, and Hyo. It was the Neko Damashi on JFK to win the match, and what a cool set of opponents for SB Kento. I fired this off on Twitter while I was watching this show, but you got all of Class of 2020 and his hometown rival against him. That's a fun little opener there, at least. That's a nice little ring.
There's a spot here I really liked. You're exactly right about SB Kento, but there was a spot here that I really liked with Kai, where he bounced off the ropes and he hit Kakuta and UT with a lariat, and UT fell down and Kakuta stayed standing and fought back. And that was, for Kakuta, who's even in the month that he's been back, just this singular month, he's run hot and cold on seemingly every show. I don't know what I'm going to get for him. This was one of those good Kakuta nights, and this was an opportunity, a match for him where he was able to look strong. He was able to look confident, which he needs. He needs to be able to look as confident as humanly possible, and I thought he projected that in this match. And like you said, it had the fun dynamic of the Class of 2020, so this was a shorter opening match than we typically get on these shows now, only 7 minutes, but a fun opener. I would have liked to have seen this go a few more minutes. I think it could have reached that 3 3/4 range had it gone 10, 11, 12 minutes.
Yeah, I had it 3.5, and I think you're right. Okay. I think you're right there with that. And especially about Kakuta, like, it's something that he's been so uneven, but like it's something where like he emotes with his eyes a lot, I've noticed, and you can kind of tell when he's feeling it, and you could tell he was feeling it here. I do really like the electric chair flapjack tag team move that him and Kamei have.
Yes, I do as well. Good call.
And then after that, we had the first quarterfinal, and Lek Barasan presents King of Gate 2022 to decide Dragon Gate's #1 champion. It was Yuki Yoshioka versus Diamante in the ulti bracket here. Yuki Yoshioka turned the Vuelta Finale into the reversal Samson clutch to win and advance onto court.
Maybe I'm just higher on this match than everybody else. I don't know. I lost my mind watching this. Oh, I tweeted it out at Open Voice Gate when it happened, and this was before the main event, hint, that at the time, this was my second favorite match of the tournament behind KZ versus Minoura from the week before. And this match, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. To me, even though this match took place in Osaka, it felt like spiritually it took place in Arena Nakampon. I mean, it was just drenched in lucha technique that made it very clear that 1, Diamante was in the match, and 2, that Yoshioka spent a year in Mexico, and I was all about that.
Case, what did I say a few weeks ago about this matchup when it would happen?
My guess is that you said it was going to be good.
Yeah, this wasn't good. This was excellent. This was my favorite match of the tournament.
Okay, that's great, just because I wasn't sure if I was out to lunch. I didn't really see a lot of people put this over, not that anybody faded it, but I also it was a match that happened and then people moved on. I again, watching this live, I was losing my mind at the speed and intensity in which these guys were working. I couldn't believe some of the spots they were doing. That opening spot where Yoshioka like jumps into an electric chair position and then kind of Rana's Diamante out of the ring. I don't know if I have that exact sequence right, but I think you get the idea. Unbelievable. I mean, there was just so much good stuff in this match. The cannonball from Diamante, the shotgun drop kick from Diamante, obviously the counters and pins towards the finishing stretch. This is a 4.5-star match. To me, this is the highest level of wrestling. This is as good as it gets.
I was 4.5 as well, and one of the reasons why I knew this would be special was Diamante would be able to base for Yuki Yoshioka. In case, we got him doing tope con los. The drop kick, or I'm sorry, the plancha from the top turnbuckle to the floor. Did you notice how far Yuki Yoshioka went diagonally with that dive? Did you notice he went halfway across the ring, like one side of the ring? He went halfway from a turnbuckle into a dive. It was insane.
I've said this about a lot of different Dragongate wrestlers throughout the years, just because I think these guys are all so good and so athletic that, you know, it works great for us, but they could almost cannibalize each other with raw talent. And Yoshioka is one of those guys that I think if you gave him the Takashita spot in AEW, people would be blown away, even if they've seen Yoshioka, as to just how athletic he is. Because in a promotion with Diamante and with Dragon Kid and with Shun Skywalker, he's just another athletic guy. But you put him on any other roster, and I think people go, holy shit, who is this guy? Like, how does he move around the ring the way he does?
Yeah, and then like doing little things like the arm work they did here. Not hold-based arm work. It was like, oh, we're going to like work how we're going to be more effective towards your arm so you have less power for it. Like those little things, because usually when you see like someone's going to be like working a body part, maybe there'll be a little bit of striking, but it's mostly be hold work. That I did not see like an arm bar or a Kimura or wrist lock whatsoever, but they worked the arm incredibly well here. The jumping, spinning marionette getting called back was sick as well. Like, I think that it's a move that's kind of like it's a nod for like the lucha heads out there going like, oh, he's busting out the unforgivable move right here. And it just was, in the finishing stretch, the way that they worked into that reversal Samson looked magical. It just was, it's my match of the tournament. It's the match that I'll go back to when I think about this.
Like I said, to me, this is, other than maybe a big New Japan main event, just the technique that was on display here, the speed in which they did it, not in slow motion like Negro Navarro, but the speed in which they worked this match, the intensity that was on display. This is what I want from wrestling. This was, in a real genuine way, kind of Lucharesu personified. And I had high expectations going into this match, and they over-delivered on those expectations. This is one of those, and I will say this about one other match on this show as well. This is if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't seen it, you are doing yourself a disservice. You need to stop listening to us for a minute, go watch this match, come back and enjoy the rest of the podcast. We are talking about GLEAT at the end of the show.
You say that like it's a threat, man.
well,
for me,
it might be a threat depending on who's listening.
it might be a threat according to which one of the podcast hosts is talking about it.
Ladette, we can't be bought. If you want to run ads, I will give you my email address.
You probably want to deal with him.
Yeah, I can be bought, especially by the Ladette Corporation.
Match 3 was gold class versus an unaffiliated team of Dragon Dia, La Estrella, and Takuma Fujiwara. The gold class team, because of Kaito Ishida still being in the tournament, was Doi, Minora, and Minorita. It was the R301 on Fujiwara, and what I would say, different energy than usual gold class matches.
I feel like I've said this before. I don't know, just because of cage match, with all due respect, and their lack of a La Estrella profile, Doi and Estrella have really good chemistry. And that is one of those deals that if Estrella can just work consistently, do his thing, earn another high-level match, let's say a Triangle Gate match that Doi's in or a Twin Gate match that Doi's in, those guys in a big spot would really, really intrigue me, because every time they share the ring together, and I don't think that's been too often, but I feel like I've seen them in there before, and I've seen them kill it. This is one of those matches where I had the same thought going, wait, God, I like when Doi can manhandle somebody. You know, Doi's rarely the bigger guy in a match, but he's much bigger than Estrella, and he works like it too.
Yeah, and my first note I have down here was Doi just rocked Estrella as a joke. Like, they work together, and it allows Doi to get mean in a way that really, I think, brings out kind of the innate charisma that you have to have when you're in, like, Estrella's role, you know? Like, the easiest way for him, other than doing spectacular things to derive reaction, is, you know, getting beat up and firing back. And Doi tapped right into it. we had a really fun run-in with Minorita where Minorita like flew across the ring and just cleared Dragon Dia's clock. That was sick.
Yeah, that was really good.
That was very that was very sick, and it was cool to see like the Masquerade guys get at it together. Like seeing Dia and Estrella together, you kind of, it feels like a lifetime ago. You're like, oh wait, they were in Masquerade together. They were Dragongate champions, and that was really fun as well. I was 3 3/4 for it. This was just a lot of fun.
Okay, I'm very glad. We did not talk about the show at all. I had no idea what your thoughts were. I was afraid we were going to be on totally separate pages on Yoshioka versus Diamante, and I thought I might have been a little high on this match, but we gave it the same rating. We've talked a lot, even in the first 5 months of this year, about the Wrestling Observer newsletter awards. Obviously, Fujiwara is the Rookie of the Year. Sorry, Hook, love you, but no. I don't feel like there's been any crazy innovation in the wrestling moveset game this year. And I feel like this tabletop into fold-up press pinning combination that Fujiwara does might need to be in the running, because he has obviously never pinned anybody with it, but oh my god, the near falls he gets when he tabletops his opponent like they're in junior high school and then pins them just by basically falling backwards onto their body, it gets me every time. That move looks so good, and when he gets his first win, it should either be in a way to like super establish a finisher, or it should be that pinning combination.
It reminds me, and I know you don't watch too much of this, Saya Ida in Stardom has her pinning combination called the Ida Bashi, that instead of doing the tabletop, she does a leg trip and then rolls and just kind of like rewinds over them. And it's sick every time. It's something that more people should be like, oh, wait, I just need to get a folding press somehow. How do I get into that folding press? Well, I make them trip over me like a dummy. It's perfect.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. Sometimes I enjoy a double moonsault. Sometimes I enjoy somebody getting tabletop. Wrestling is a beautiful art form.
It really is both sides there. It really is. The second Can't Get quarterfinal match was between BB Hulk and Jason Lee. Jason Lee won with an inside cradle in 6 minutes and 22 seconds, but that's not really the story of the match. I think the easiest way to kind of like talk our way through this match and the aftermath is just to get into the match itself. This got sleazy real quick, and Hulk has basically been wrestling like a Terminator as of late. And I know some people think it was a Tree of Woe spot, but there were a lot of really like moments where knowing that he got hurt, I kind of was like, like, just because like you could see at least from the single camera angle that, you know, there wasn't a lot of clearance there.
Well, okay. I watched this live, and up until this morning when it was announced that Jason was not going to be in the match, I just assumed that everything was fine. I thought Jason did a really good job of selling these kicks to the head. I thought him getting carried out like a Christ-like figure almost, just draped over his followers' shoulders, was really entertaining. And it is a bummer that he appears to be actually injured, because for what this match was, which, like you said, was a super short, super physical, really bordering on violent match, given the way that Hulk threw some of those strikes. Yeah, I enjoyed a little bit less just knowing that somebody got hurt, but in the moment, again, not really buying that this was a serious injury, and just kind of, thinking that Jason was just doing such a good job of selling the wear and tear of this tournament and of this match specifically. I do look back on it less fondly now, but mechanically, I thought it was a very good match for what they were going for. It's just a shame somebody got hurt.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just like the downside of like you're doing this thing where basically he escapes from like the skin of his teeth. Now, do we think that he went home because he was like, we got to get out of here. We got to get to the finish? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not in either of their heads, but the story that was presented up into that, like, it was like, all right, he survived and he managed to get the dangerous person out of the tournament. And now he has to deal with that going on, having to have 2 matches potentially in one night. And like, I get the logic behind the match. Like, that's not my problem whatsoever. It just was, if I watched it unspoiled, I probably would have the exact same reaction as you know?
Yeah, no, it definitely takes on a different meaning once you know that he was concussed. But in the moment, I was like, God, Hulk really kicked him, and they are doing such a good job of playing this up. I really
He's been kicking a lot of people really hard lately. Have you noticed that?
you know, he's older now, and he's probably a little frustrated with Gen Z running amok in the locker room, and he's gonna choose to take it out on some people.
Hey, I mean, sometimes you got to do it. So, as we talked about before, we don't know what's going to be the situation for that fourth quarter finalist. We will probably, I've been refreshing Twitter the entire show to see if they announce anything, given that it is morning in Japan and they do announce things in the morning, but nothing we know as of yet with that. And we went from that match case, like this was like a 1-2 kick of just like, oh, this is weird. But it was High End versus Perros del Mal de Japón. It was Yamato, Kagetora, Dragon Kid versus Eita, Nasao Harangai, Katara Suzuki going to a double countout.
I thought this was super fun. I really enjoyed this for what it was. We got to see Dragon Kid and Katara Suzuki wrestle, which was a treat. And hot take, but I think Yamato and Nozawa might have really good chemistry with one another. Like, I don't know. I'm into the Perros thing. I think they're fun right now. Do I want them in Dragongate 6 months from now? No, I do not. But I am into whatever Perros story is going on right now.
My one note for this match, because it was so quick and I could tell what it was going to be, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to enjoy this. Yamato is down to clown Nozawa.
It's
and yes,
great.
He was.
It's great. Like, I don't know. I mean, I said this in November when Nozawa showed up for the GHC Junior match. Like, every time they've appeared, I think they've been super entertaining. I love that they're committed to doing the DG house show schedule. And Saito's like, yeah, maybe I just call you when you defend the belts. Like, he's not into it. And I think that's so funny. They have delivered every time they've been on one of these shows. Again, it will wear out its welcome. This is not a long-term project that I want to tackle, but even if they're out as, you know, Kobe World, I'm into Perros. I think this is really entertaining what they're doing.
Oh, it's a scream, especially because you have Ryo Saito coming out and just cutting like the most angry dad promo possible towards them. Like, if we didn't have the fact that the GM is just frustrated and befuddled and is just like, all right, you can't make title matches, but win this title match. I'm counting on you to bring these belts back here. It's just really, it's inoffensive, you know, at the end of the day, at least we look at a Dragongate context. And would I want to have Eita doing more? Yes. But am I amused? And I think that this is a good way to kill time before they have the plans ready to pull the trigger on it? Absolutely. And I'm fine with that because of that.
That's, I guess, what I would be curious to know is, this might not be for everybody. Some people might not enjoy this, but is there anybody out there that actively dislikes this? Because I would find that hard to believe. I think this has been fun. And again, maybe you're neutral on it. You're not in love with it. You just don't want to see Perros or Nozawa for whatever reason. I get that, but I think the way they've been used has been pretty clever. I'm into this right now.
Yeah, no, I'm totally here with this. Now, if they get some sleazy trios matches out in Noah, we need to talk about what we're going to cover and what we're not going to cover, Case. Like, are you going to make me have to like sit through like a stinger challenge of this thing?
No, I didn't make you sit through like Eita's GHC Junior Heavyweight title matches, and I watched most of those, but I like you, Mike. I'm not going to make you watch that.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. After intermission, we had the Rec League match. Ultimo, Masaki Mochizuki, Benkei, and Keisuke Hakuta versus Sumo Mochizuki, Don Fuji, Genki Horiguchi, and Takashi Yoshida. Benkei speared Genki Horiguchi in 9 minutes and 50 seconds.
And moving on to the quarterfinals.
Yep, it was a Rec League match. 3 flat. Let's move on. Semi-main event was one of the 4 quarterfinal matchups for the 2022 King of Gate. It was Shuji Kondo versus Kaito Ishida. And Shuji Kondo, like, I know the official result says King Kong Lariat, but listener, Shuji Kondo shrugged off a whole lot of kicks and just beat the shit out of Ishida with lariats and won.
Yeah, this is the exact match that you would think this would be. It was Kondo being big and strong and powerful, and Ishida being strong and powerful and not that big, and really trying to overcome that single difference between these two. And in the end, as we've seen throughout King of Gate, Kondo was the better man, and I liked him beating Ishida with 2 straight King Kongs. I thought that, protects Ishida a little bit because he's not a guy who loses a ton, and it made Kondo look really good. I thought this was a very strong match, a little G1 sprint like. I think if you were into Prime Hanma or Ishii or some of those matches, I think you would get really into Kondo versus Ishida here.
Yeah, I love the fact that Ishida was like, I'm going all out here because I don't know if I can withstand this. And all it did was just make Kondo snap. Like, this was the Kondo I wanted to see against JFK, to be quite honest. Like, I wanted to see like some just insane violence. And it played into the fact that Ishida's from Osaka. He has a connection with the Osaka fans. And, that kind of played into it. And these two guys, they meshed. And it just had like a tremendous closing stretch here. Like, it's a shame that it was on the same show as Yuki Yoshioka and Diamante because it's 4.25 stars for me. But there's a gulf there. But I thought this was excellent.
Ishida is a very, very good pro wrestler. I feel like we should emphasize that more often. And Shuji Kondo has been really good in King of Gate. And I think there's a real possibility he wins the entire tournament.
At this point, I think that makes the most sense of anything. But yeah, this was awesome. And we had the quarterfinal matchup of Lech Barasan presents King of Gate 2022 to decide Dragongate's #1 champion. It was a rematch from Kobe World of last year. It was KZ versus Shun Skywalker. And Shun Skywalker got the win through a distraction chair shot. Jay pointed out on Twitter, this is the first time that Shun Skywalker has actually cheated in a match. So Shun Skywalker beats KZ again, and KZ time. It's not this year again, guys. It's not KZ.
In 2018, against Masaki Mochizuki in February, we saw the birth of main event KZ. A year later against Pac, we really saw the birth of Mr. February in KZ, once again losing an Open the Dreamgate Championship match. And that brought us to July 21st of 2019. A noticeable odd inclusion on the undercard was that Shun Skywalker versus KZ singles match. And I think both men have defined their careers ever since by that match. And it just so happened that match was brilliant, set KZ on the right path. It gave Shun Skywalker a story for him to go to Mexico, return, and we've seen him become a crazy man ever since. I was 4.5 stars on that match. Last year, Kobe World main event, it was my Dragongate match of the year, one of the 5 best matches I saw all of last year. 4.75 on that match. This King of Gate 2022 match in Osaka, May 29th, 2022, another 4.75 star match. Shun Skywalker. Is Shun Skywalker the best wrestler in the world right now? The best #1 with a bullet?
I'm drawing a blank. Like,
here's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
If you're submitting your observer ballot today, who is your most outstanding wrestler?
My most outstanding wrestler, I think it would be Shun Skywalker. Honestly, and you know who might be third on that list? Takuma Fujiwara.
That's, boy, are you speaking my language. That's what I can't figure out, because Okada's been good this year, but it's not Okada's year. I have liked what I've seen of Ospreay, but I don't feel like Ospreay's #1 right now. You obviously, up until the beginning of this month, were as plugged into AEW as anybody. Who on the AEW roster is Punk the best AEW wrestler this year? Is it Hangman? Is it Darby Allin?
Danielson. Danielson's in the company, so he's the best wrestler in the company until otherwise, I guess.
Okay, I guess yes, from just an overall standpoint, but I guess I got to look at what his output has been this year, because he had the Hangman match, which I actually liked the draw better than I liked the rematch. He had the Lee Moriarty match, which I liked. He had the Moxley match at Revolution. That was good, but I thought that was flawed. I liked that less than most people. The Wheeler Yuta match I really liked. The Trent match I really liked. And then the Seidel match, which I need to watch. I'm excited to watch that, actually. Look, Shun Skywalker, as of May 31st, has had a better 2022 than Bryan Danielson has.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
Shun Skywalker's the guy. This match, him and Diamante versus Diane Yoshioka. There's that Hulk, Diamante, SB Kento, and Shun Skywalker versus Ryofuda, Strong Machine J, Takuma Fujiwara, and Ultimo Dragon 8-man that I loved. Minoru and Skywalker versus Eita Neo. That was from the very beginning of the year. He's got a bunch of these little 4-star matches that I really liked, and now he has this high-end KZ match that I think puts him over the top. Right now, Shun Skywalker is the best wrestler in the world. I don't think anybody is quite on his level, because not only is he having these great matches, but he's doing that character work that we've raved about. I mean, no one...
He's complete.
With the exception of MJF, nobody is doing the character work that he's doing, and I love MJF as a wrestler, but I don't think he has had the year that Shun Skywalker has had. I mean, MJF wrestles literally once a month, so he hasn't had the output that Shun has had this year. And I think where I will differ for most people is that I thought the finish of this match actually helped it, because one, like you pointed out, and like Jay pointed out, this was a definitive moment in the character of Shun Skywalker, which is something that I'm invested in, which is something that I care about. And I thought that was executed incredibly well. But for as many issues, and rightfully so, because I have them as well, for as many issues as people have with Dragongate interference spots, if you go back and watch the last minute of this match, Hyo distracts the referee, KZ springs up, he and Yagi immediately confront Hyo, and as they're doing that, SB Kento slides a chair into the ring, KZ turns around, he is walloped with his chair, Skywalker slides the chair out of the ring and pins him. And the timing and execution of that finish was marvelous. This is a promotion that you and I have long made peace with interference spots. They don't totally make sense. I look past them. They don't bother me, even if I don't like them. This was perfectly timed. This was big league stuff. This is how it's done. And to me, it added to the match. 4 3/4 stars.
So I was 4 1/4. I think your point about the chair, I mean, I think that's very relevant here. And it's something that, I think with KZ, and not casting any dispersions, I think with like that fan base that you were talking about before, there is the connection with KZ that, that like this isn't acceptable. And I think that colors it a little bit. And hey, I feel like I could speak from that, like definitively from authority. I am the Tozawa fan. I lived through these kind of things many times before with him, but it worked with it, and they were boom, 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 as you said, with the chair shot. That at the end it didn't bother me so much. The big thing that really kind of changed it for me was that this was a match that you do after you've had the big match that they had at Kobe World, and you have the nice callbacks to it. But I think back towards that Kobe World match is the better version of it. Like, I like the teasing the monkey flip from the apron to the floor.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. The monkey flip tease was electric. I am so glad they added that to this match.
Right, yeah. So it's something that like they were able to add to it, but I don't think it built on those matches. And sadly, at least in my own personal like grading rubric, in a way, I kind of was left a little bit underwhelmed in comparison to their main event matches they've had at Kobe World.
I get that. I think I was so invested in the new dynamics of this match, with Shun approaching this match in an entirely different way. I mean, God, let alone what he did last year, but think about 2019 Shun in comparison to 2022 Shun. I mean, they're basically two different wrestlers. And I got really into the aspect of that. So this was the evidence that I needed to put Shun Skywalker number 1 with a bullet. If I was turning in my SFM 50 ballot today, Shun Skywalker would be at the top of the list. He, as we approach the second half of the year, he is the man to beat. And whether it's, Danielson or John Moxley or CM Punk or Okada or, and this will sound odd, but Lindaman, whoever wants to step up and try to take that crown from him, I would love that. I would love more good wrestling to watch. But as far as I'm concerned, Skywalker's the guy right now. He is number 1, and he has the output to prove it this year. And if this is your first Open the Voice Gate episode, please DM me. I will give you Shun Skywalker matches from this year to watch. I would be more than happy to.
And that did it for King of Gate leading up to Cork and Hall. Of course, it will be on the 2nd It is a 6:30 local time, 5:30 East Coast, 2:30 West Coast, 9:30 Greenwich Mean Time. And of course, the only match we actually know, but we actually don't even know the pairings because from the Dragongate Twitter, the semifinals and finals for King of Gate 2022 will be announced after decision is being made about replacements or changes due to the injury of Jason Lee. So we know 3 people who are going to be involved in it. We know it's Shuji Kondo, we know it's Shun Skywalker, and we know it's Yuki Yoshioka. And they did a face-off for Yoshioka and Shun, so that might be their pivot for a final, if you ask me, because it seemed like with how everything was laid out there, Case, it seemed like that Jason Lee versus Shun Skywalker, they were going to go one-on-one for King of Gate now, and I think they're pivoting now to, excursion partners and, the lore of that 12-1 2022 or 2021 mass match is going to come into play as Shun Skywalker and Yuki Yoshioka face off to end that Osaka show.
As long as the 4th man, that X, whoever enters the fray here, well, I'm going to stand by this. As long as that person doesn't win the tournament, and I obviously have no idea what is planned. We don't even know the format of how that person is going to enter this. As long as that person doesn't win, I don't think they can fail here, because if Kondo wins, I think they'll do the Kai match the next day at the Toryumon reunion show. They'll headline with Kai versus Kondo, and I think that will be fantastic. If Skywalker wins, you've got Skywalker versus Kai. I'm super into that. If Yoshioka
shenanigans
wins,
will be afoot.
Yes,
shenanigans will be afoot for that one.
Plenty of shenanigans. And if you have Yoshioka win, great. That's a guy. I love how important D Courage has felt the entire year. They deserve that spot. They've worked for that spot. More power to them. They've set themselves up with a 3-prong win scenario here, and I love that. So this tournament, I think even 5 years from now, we'll look back very fondly on. King of Gate 2022, to me, has been a massive success. And I think the finals, that final night, will continue on the trend of this entire tournament, which is really, really good pro wrestling.
Yeah, and what a week we have ahead of us with back-to-backs in Korakuen. Of course, the second will be the finals of King of Gate 2022, and then the third will be the Toryumon Reunion Volume 2. So, big week coming up for that part of the Dragon System. But that's not the only part of the Dragon System we want to talk about this week, Case.
No, let's real quick talk about GLEAT and the Shima 25th anniversary match, as well as Lindaman versus Shigehiro Irie. Real quick, there was that photo that surfaced this morning at the time we're recording of Shima at Masato Yoshino's gym. Your take on that?
They are 2 people that used to be co-workers meeting each other.
And I believe we have both heard the same thing, that the Dragongate office sent flowers to Korakuen Hall for the Shima 25th anniversary show. And what I was told from somebody this morning was Yoshino was returning the favor, or Shima rather was returning the favor. So obviously it's funny timing that it's this week of all weeks, but I would not read into that. And hey, great. If something comes of it, great. I obviously support that. I, would like to see Shima retire in a Dragongate ring, but I would not be hung up on that come Toryumon reunion show.
Yeah, returning the favor. I mean, being polite. I mean, and Dragongate I'm just going to editorialize for a second. Sending flowers for someone's anniversary like that is like the least you can do for that. Like if President
yes, they could have sent a wrestler, but they sent flowers.
Right. No, exactly. I mean, you could send a wrestler. Like they did not do a pre-match ceremony of people like celebrating his match. Like there were things that would have been a stronger stance. That was a pretty inoffensive and just like keeping up appearances there. So I wouldn't read too much into it, as Kiss was saying. So these matches itself up. I just have to say one thing. GLEAT is the weirdest thing to watch, Case. It is bizarre.
Talk about it. You have a lot of thoughts on this.
So I feel like that I have like that reputation for antagonism for GLEAT. There's just a lot of GLEAT that just does not make sense in my head. I've come to the determination with the fact that, they put all their shows on YouTube, and then that's other than tickets and merchandise. I don't know how they make money. Can't make sense of that. Can't make sense of Lindaman's expression at the end of title matches when he's given mysterious things. Like he was given a belt, a crystal by Genichiro Tenryu. In case that was that was kind of like a crystal award that you would get at like your office's Christmas year party saying, okay, you were the best district manager of the year, and they gave him 2 gold medals. Like, are you trying to find some way to make this kid collapse under the weight of his gifts? Like, he has no idea what's going on here. Like, why are you giving so many gold medals? Like, I know you're trying to ape the dream key, but gold medals? Really? And that's not even a start about how bad I think that belt looks. So, GLEAT, I don't get it. Case, I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense to me. It was fun, though, but it just doesn't make sense.
There is a real beauty to following GLEAT on a casual level, because every time I read something about this promotion, I go, not what I thought was happening. Every time there's just every result, every little thing that happens is just a little bit different from how I remember it being the previous time I checked it on them. And it is fun to watch it unfold from afar. I don't understand the promotion. I don't know, even in their current state, how they exist. They did not do a very big number for this Korakuen Hall show, which with Shingo being on it, I found to be very concerning. But boy, they might have 2 of my 10 favorite matches this year, with the L. Lindaman versus T-Hawk match from February, and then this L. Lindaman versus Irie match from May.
I like this Irie match. I went 4 stars on it. It's something that like it was very complete stuff, and it felt like, okay, this was like a big championship match here. I'd like the way that El Lindaman has a way of kicking into like extra gears that you could tell, like, okay, he's really revving up, and then when it ends with like a locomotion tiger suplex like that, after like he takes everything from Irie. It's something that, like, if you're basing a company around someone as champion, a young champion, as like your first champion, this is exactly what you should do. I was 4 stars. I thought this was great.
So that's the interesting thing with Lindaman is I've stated before, he was my first Dragongate rookie. I was watching live when he debuted, and I was like, oh, this tiny kid does judo throws. He is my guy. I'm all in. And as Yuga Hayashi, I thought he showed such immense potential. And up and through the era in which he started wearing face paint, he was one of my favorite wrestlers. And he, more so than Shima and T-Hawk, at least in terms of match quality, has struggled since the Dragongate departure. But 2022 has been the best year of his career. And although I don't think it has the same impact, I know it doesn't, that, a sustained Bravegate run in Dragongate or a pushed run in DDT would have. The fact is, he is getting the ball. He is getting a chance to run with it, and I think he's doing a really good job of it. I really like his output in GLEAT. I've really liked his output in the Best of the Super Juniors, which I'm assuming, Mike, you haven't seen any of that.
I have it on. I have a big catch-up list, and Super Juniors is on that list. Like the good stuff. I'm like the Show and Yo stuff. No,
I'm not watching that either. But Lindaman versus Despy from Korakuen Hall. Proud is not the right word. It was cool to see Lindaman have that spot, because, like I said, he more than anybody has probably gotten the raw end of the deal on this Strong Heart split. And for him to headline a New Japan show in Korakuen Hall, a show that had the highest attendance of the 3 Super Junior Korakuen Hall shows, it was nice to see. This is a guy who I've been watching for 8 years. This is a guy I've always been a fan of. There have been times where I was like, maybe he becomes a DDT comedy wrestler. Maybe that's what his career is now, and that has bummed me out. And then it's like, oh wait, no, maybe he's a 0-1 guy. Like, oh god,
bumming out for different reasons.
Yeah, no, that sucks. But seeing him in the spot, top guy in GLEAT, push commodity in New Japan, it is very nice to see. The Desperado match is worth your time. I don't know how you feel about him as a wrestler, but as a wrestler, I'm a big fan. Him versus TJP was a lot of fun. Those are 2 guys that I get really into, and they had the type of match that I was hoping they'd have. So on top of the Irie match, which I don't need to go move by move, I thought the flagship, Rich and Joe, did a really good job of talking about this match a few weeks ago. We're a little late on it now, but it was Dragon System adjacent, and I wanted to be sure to mention that if you haven't seen it, Lindaman versus Irie on YouTube, I went 4.5. I think this is essential viewing. Add it to your list if you have not seen it. This is a match you need to watch. This was really, really good.
And then the other match was Shima and Shingo Tsukagi versus Ryuji Kawakami and Kazma Sakamoto in Shima's 25th anniversary match. Shima got to do all of his offense on Kazma Sakamoto and won with a Meteora.
A delightfully weird match. I
Yes.
believe it was the night before this match was announced. We were talking to someone who is, I would say close to the situation, and we were talking about how funny it is that Shima, at the time, was still in the New Japan Cup, and we were talking about how, by all accounts, the Shima-Shingo relationship is still strained, and it's not like there's been, unless it was like a super secret handshake meeting that we know of, it's not like they're boys again. And I believe 24 hours later, this match was announced, and it was just very funny for me to go like, oh, okay, this is happening. This is real life. And, they weren't the Young Bucks out there. They weren't brothers. They weren't hugging each other. They had a very nice handshake, and really, they kept their distance in this match. I mean, it was as icy of a tag team match as you could get.
Did you notice how much Shingo liked standing on the floor during that match?
You know what? I have that in my notes. This was a Shima match. Shingo came in, did a few spots, but my man Shima was doing his offense.
Hey, you got Kazma over there now. You're paying him a lot. You're paying him enough to go over there, at least. You might as well do every single one of your name moves, Shima. Because like he was like super draw of Tokarevs, and I'm just like, man, if this was the Shima that was in the New Japan Cup, I wouldn't have felt so depressed. It seems like he just can't do the singles epic anymore. But when you get him in a tag scenario, and the other GLEAT I've seen him in, he just looks like classic Shima. Like this was a Shima match. Bulk Orchestra also is another thing that I actually do get. I think it's very funny that they have pudgy guys and they call them all Bulk. I think that's great. Like
there's a certain charm that once the OWE split happened, there's a certain charm that left Dragongate. And look, Dragongate's obviously in a much healthier position. Everybody that we seem to mention or that we seem to talk to that has some relationship to pre-split and post-split says that the mental health and the overall health of this company is so much better now. I thought it was interesting watching the Chris Hero Bandito interview on High Spots. When it comes to the Dragongate section, there were some questions there that Chris Hero must have had good people in his ear to tell him what to ask. And
it's good to talk to people who are knowledgeable about subject matter. When you're going to go officially on for some stuff, there are certain reporters that could learn.
And there, Hero asked the question, what was the difference between, pre-OWE and post-OWE? And I thought it was interesting that Bandito said, the only thing that changed was a better boss. Dojo was still the same, travel was still the same, but we had a better boss. And that obviously, as we look down the barrel 4 years later, things worked out for Dragongate, and I'm delighted for the promotion. This is a long-winded point of saying, hey, Shima's still very good, and I still get excited when Shima's in high-profile matches, and even if Shingo took the night off, which, by the way, he deserves it, even though he was paid to wrestle, he took the night off, Shima is still a very good pro wrestler, and he got to showcase that here. So it is a bummer that his 25th anniversary looked like this. I would certainly like to see the Crystal Ball alternate universe where he never leaves, and the pageantry that takes place on his 25th anniversary in a Dragongate ring, because I think it would look drastically different. But this is a fun match. I will take up any chance to see Shima and Kazma Sakamoto wrestle one another.
Yeah, it's good seeing Kazma. He's still very good.
Yeah, God, yeah, I miss him.
Yeah. Kawakami's another guy I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so like we'll do a Spears Ovations episode where it's just like Case tries to like be the psychiatrist as Mike tries to talk through his feelings about GLEAT.
It's a truly bizarre promotion, and I think even the people that are into it, which I like, you can be into GLEAT as much as you want, but you do have to admit, God, this is a weird promotion.
These are the things that you'd hear Zellner talk about, like those Japanese indies that like Kageki Pro, and you're just like, oh, you're talking about this here. In 5 years, people will be like, oh, somehow GLEAT's still on YouTube. Boy, let's go watch through all of GLEAT. Like that's the one service they're doing. They're making everything freely available on YouTube. So when they fold, their content is out there for the masses. Like, that's the one positive I could say about GLEAT, other than wrestlers getting paid.
It's very unfortunate to think that GLEAT is far more easier to watch than Dragongate more often than not.
Yeah, man. I just, we could be here until midnight, me trying to figure this out.
Nothing about it makes sense. But Lindaman versus Irie, a very, very good match. Go watch it. And the Shima anniversary match, to me, as someone that cares about this sort of stuff, as someone that cares about the legacy and the impact of the Dragon system, I find it to be worthwhile. It was an okay match. I mean, again, Shima can still go, Kazma can still go. And so that will be GLEAT talk for the next 6 months.
Yep, and that will do it for Open the Voice Gate this week. Check on voicesofwrestling.com. Case and I are splitting the Cork and reviews. Case will have King of Gate. I will have Toryumon reunion. And we'll have a lot to talk about next Tuesday, but I don't think... Are they off after the Corkins? Let me check real quick to see what their schedule is coming up.
No, there's a Sambo show this weekend.
Yeah, and then the next weekend they have a triple shot in Fukuoka. Okay. So we're in a busy June as we are now fully on the road to Kobe World Kennen Hall and the doubleheader with Ultimate Dragon's 35th anniversary and Kobe Pro Wrestling Festival 2022. Any other thoughts before we get out of here?
Nope, that's all I got.
All right, you can follow us on Twitter at Open Voice Gate. Cases at _ in your case. I'm at Fujiheya. Thanks for listening to Open the Voice Gate. We'll be back next week talking about the huge week in Dragongate. Take care.